Four comedians are also real good friends, working on jokes, the fun never ends. They're asking each other, is this anything? That was a weird time.
It was a strange time. Yeah, and I think that also helped me run into my my depressive state. It always does because I don't get a lot of sleep during those, and I have to chug energy drinks at weird times, and it's just like I'm all out of whack. Like after having like a 3-hour killer cluster headache attack, I'm like, I don't even care about eating healthy or anything like that. I'm like, I deserve to just eat like a donut the gluten's gonna fuck me up and stuff like that. Yeah. And then I just get into bad cycles. So it always sets me out of whack.
Do the energy drinks help?
So taurine, which is the active ingredient in Red Bull and Monster, the way it works is it keeps you up by tampering with your hypothalamus, which is your biological clock in your brain. And that is also where the malfunction that causes cluster headaches is in your biological clock, which is why it usually comes in predictable patterns. Mine are usually every 6 months. If you are having an attack, and you chug an energy drink right as you start to detect it before it gets really bad, because it ramps up about 15 minutes, you can kind of feel where it's going to go. If you just chug it right away, you can maybe 60% of the time just stop the attack there. Wow. But it often starts like an hour into sleep. So you have to wake up and then chug an energy drink at the thought that you might be having an attack. You're like, I think there's a hint of something. I just got to do it. Otherwise, it's potentially 3 hours of the worst pain I've ever felt. So yeah, it's a wild time.
That's really funny because then it's like, well, I guess I got to go skateboarding now.
yeah, exactly. It's 3 a.m. I have to be up in 5 hours. I just chugged a Monster energy drink. My headache's gone. Now what do I do?
But have you heard Brian Regan's pain bit?
Extreme. No.
He said he was experiencing a really high level of pain. I forget what it was. Maybe it was kidney stones or something else. I don't remember what it was. But then he says he goes into the doctor's office. He's like, so go in, and they say, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you describe your pain? And he was like, well, I've heard that child labor is some of the most difficult pain that anyone could ever go through. So I didn't want to say 10 because I felt like maybe that was already reserved for the 10 slot. He's like, but then I also heard that he named some other condition. He's like, that's also maybe the most pain that anyone could ever go through. So I didn't really want to I didn't want people coming and be like, who in here has the audacity to be saying that they have a pain level of 9 over me? So he's trying to be courteous to all these other pain distributions. He's like, I don't know if it's that. He's like, so I wound up going with 7. I figured 7 was a nice, middle number type of thing. Then they gave me these drugs, and the drugs were so good. I wound up walking out of there being like, say 7. Say 7.
Yeah, 7 is actually, that's about right. If you tell an ER doctor that you're in a 10, if you're going in to get painkillers, you're not going to get them because they're going to give you a spinal tap. That's what that level of pain is. So people often overestimate it, not trying to get drugs, and then they get fucked up in a different way.
I thought that joke was going to go in a different direction. I thought he took the painkillers. They felt so good. He's like, you know what? This is probably a 4. If I feel this good right now, it's probably a 4.
Yeah, part of the reason I love that joke so much, and I forgot the first half of it to do it pretty well, but it's just this shifting in what that joke was. Because the idea of trying to be considerate to people who aren't even in the room to say, yeah, but if I say 10, someone's going to come in there and be like, the audacity to say 10.
I don't know. Do you ever do a Regan impression? Because as you were telling that bit, there were echoes of Regan's voice.
Oh, I've dabbled. Yeah, I like him a lot, so I've thought of him a lot, and I can do an okay Regan. Oh.
Yeah, it was interesting because you've gotten his delivery down pretty well, so well enough that you could not completely do an impression and still get his essence while delivering the joke pretty well.
I appreciate that. That's a weird comment. It's a weird thing you said that because I have a couple of times in my life been told a very similar thing about my impressions. they're like, I mean, voice-wise, maybe you got it, whatever. He's like, but essence-wise, I feel like you've nailed such and such person. And I'm always like, that's good, right? That seems like a good thing.
It's like going to be in like 95 today, so that would be.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Guacamole.
I said something.
I love those hot September days because, you when you're a kid, you buy all these back-to-school fall clothes, and you're all excited to wear them, and then September 12th hits you, and it's like 98 degrees, and you're like, what the fuck happened?
Can't wear that jacket.
I got a great cool denim jacket. I can't wear it.
These Oshkosh jeans are so heavy and wet with sweat.
Yeah.
It was so
You're like,
wet.
but God damn it, I'm going to show off this Thursday outfit.
I had it planned out, and God damn it, I'm going to stick with the plan.
I actually never really had that experience because I was just like didn't put any mind into fashion until I was maybe in college. So I would just wear sweatpants every day.
Wow. People didn't make
I
fun
just
of you
didn't care.
for wearing sweatpants?
Not that I know of.
I wore sweatpants similar all throughout actually pretty much high school, and I got made fun of them a lot.
I also, but I had to establish myself as like my superlative was most unique. So that was it was less of a. I think people weren't making fun of me. They're like, oh, that's that kid. I would
That's
wear
just what he does.
I would wear pajamas under my shorts sometimes. Like I would just put shorts over my pajamas and go to school like that. So I was always doing weird stuff. I just was like, I want to be comfy.
When did you start becoming like fashionable to the point of like black T-shirt? Like when did you get that level?
That was what's today's? No, September 4th, 2020.
Black T-shirt on a black background, just so you're a floating head.
Brett, I was kind of the opposite. I was always very like fashion forward. Do you know what I mean? Like I was always trying to do something unique. I was always trying to I don't know. I had all the fashion mags. I was all over it.
Jarret watched Benny and June. He was like, "That's it.
That's me.
how I look from here on
I'm gonna
in."
do it.
Clockwork
Boom!
Orange.
Benny and June slam. Yeah, Clockwork.
All right, should we get the first?
sorry.
Oh,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead.
Hey,
Oh,
look,
no, I
if you
was-
want to make fun of Brett or Jarret, like you're part of this podcast too.
Yeah,
whatever.
go for it.
Yeah, just
Or if
jump
you have
in.
a photo you want to share of how you used to dress.
Was your name in high school like Dick Print Brett? I can't imagine that's the reason nobody's making fun of you because they can all see your dick print. Dick
Well,
print
I
Druck.
mean, the thing is, I don't really recall being bullied at all. But then also, again, maybe I was, and I'm so in my own world. I'm such a daydreamer that I had no idea.
I actually weirdly, I came around. I had a huge dip, like middle school, bad. Like people just thought I was fucking out there and weird, and I was. And then, but I kind of just stuck to it, and I kept on being me. And somehow, like through 9th, 10th, 11th, I wound up amassing this like weird. People just kind of eventually took to whatever I was putting out there, and I was. We didn't have a class clown, but we did have like a court jester, like king, queen, court jester thing for like homecoming. And I wound up getting voted that both in 11th and 12th grade. And so like my comedy, that thing finally kind of pulled me back in. So it was interesting. By the time I graduated, I was like, oh, I actually think I've, become somewhat liked by people. Really weird.
Well, that's unrelated to your fashion choices, right?
No, I never dressed correctly. I don't think I ever came around on that.
I'm still waiting to be liked by people. But I think I dress pretty okay.
You just got to stick to it. They're going to come around to you.
They're gonna come
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
Just like I stuck to this look, And I was
That's the
like,
Clockwork Orange look. Jesus. What was that?
That's great. I love that.
You look
You look like a kid in a suit pretending to be an adult. Like they're two kids. You look like two kids
Yeah.
trying to get into the movie theater.
we would have been friends in high school.
everybody. Oh, definitely. Everybody knows when you're trying to look like an adult, you got to wear a Bugs Bunny T-shirt.
And the top hat.
Look.
Oh, that's great.
LeClerc, you're pretty fashionable. Did you always have that?
I was in hindsight, it's easy to point out that no, it wasn't fashion, but like I was fashionable for my time. Like
Oh, sure.
Right.
sure, yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys remember the white tee phase, but I had all the white tees. So that was like fashion for like my crowd. But
Just
like when you look
any
at
white
pictures,
tee?
no, they had to be 10 times. They had to touch your knees. So
Oh,
like
the big baggy tees.
Yeah, I used
Yeah.
to wear those big baggy tees in high school and a little bit in college. So like
Yeah.
that was like the style then. But you know, fashion never holds.
Yeah, right.
Oh
It's-
no,
You
you
know
saw
what's-
Jarrett's photo.
I mean, because I was drowning in it back then. I mean, we look back and we're like, God, what were we thinking? But at the time, like all the girls, hey, Jarret, I like your shirt.
Mr. Bowler hat. Whoa.
I wore the big baggy jeans, the Jenko jeans.
Oh yeah.
That was very in at that time.
I do remember thinking, because I was wearing sweatpants, I was like, these are baggy, so I'm cool.
Except for the tapered elastic ankle.
You know,
thing.
Yeah.
It's so funny that you say that because I wore sweatpants and I didn't even pick like good-looking sweatpants. like I have the one that did like hug my ankle and would
same.
like creep up, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Just you could. There were other sweatpants out there that actually looked halfway decent, and you didn't even choose those.
Yeah.
So,
LeClerc, I can't
Seinfeld-
believe you were wearing these giant white tees. You're enormous. A giant white tee. You probably could have graduated under one of your white tees because of how tall you are.
I could have, yeah.
I
Yeah,
you know,
those teams are huge. Yeah.
I think because I like to try to like keep a positive spin on things because people like to be very self-deprecating or whatever, and I always didn't like the phrase when people said, "Oh yeah, I used to wear these blah blah blah," and I used to think I was so cool, and I always want to be like, and you were. You were so cool. Like at the time, you were 100% cool for doing that, and now you're cool for doing this. Like you just continued to be cool. Like it was great that you thought you were cool, and you were.
Yeah.
And I think you're cool now, and that's cool too.
And they were like, shut up, dork. Never cool.
With your fucking sweatpants.
Empathy is not in.
Seinfeld talks about that when he talks about watching old episodes of his show. He was like, when we were getting dressed for season 1, they had like the best stylist styling the entire cast. But none of that matters when you look at old episodes because they all look like they're wearing old garbage. Like that shit ages so poorly. He always looks back to episodes like, what the hell was I wearing? He was like, oh, that was in vogue. That was in style.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
that's true.
There's some, and actually, this kind of harkens back to the comedy conversation you guys and I were having like a week ago, where it's like really good comedy, and I don't know maybe if you agree with this, LeClerc, but sometimes I think really good comedy really speaks to a time, and so thus in time you're just like, why was that funny? And you're like, I can't explain it, but it's just God, you have to know why it was so important that that person said that thing at that point, whereas other comedy may have a longer shelf life, but it didn't break as much ground, or it wasn't as earth-shattering, and it didn't need to be. So I think there's maybe a little bit of trade-off here and there.
Yeah, I think it's important to be safe in the areas that you're not expected to be creative in, and to be creative in the areas you're expected to be safe in. So like a comedian, you want to be creative in your thought and in your jokes, but if you're just taping a special, wear black. You don't have to be cute, right?
Yeah.
If you're in fashion, wear whatever the fuck you want, right? Be creative, wear bells in your hair, whatever. But when it comes to your thought, like nobody cares for you to be particularly creative there because your expertise is in fashion.
I love that. LeClerc, are you saying that Amy Schumer shouldn't have done the leather special with... is that what you're saying? That's what I heard.
We got him, guys.
Cancel, buddy.
I do think there are exceptions to this rule. Eddie Murphy wearing leather is an exception. And of course, Amy Schumer, the GOAT. We're not recording, right? All right.
So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Today, our guest is LeClerc Andre, who you may have seen on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, friend of a few of us here, and just a great comic, and we're super happy to have him on. Thanks for coming on, LeClerc.
Happy to be here, guys. I'm wearing my bell bottoms.
LeClerc, we're going to put you in the sweet spot. But beyond that, Jarret, do you want to tell us what our order is from the
Sure thing.
Matrix?
From the Jarbinator. Our order today is Jarret, Rob, LeClerc, Brett, and Anthony.
I like that he had to think about it as if there was going to be somebody else before me.
He had to turn on the process of eliminator.
I saw the A, and I was like, who is A? No.
That's not it.
Brett, no. Okay. Cell phones have become so ubiquitous that now we include in stories whether or not there were cell phones. Like, people will say things like, I started dating back in the 90s, and this was before cell phones, so I didn't have texting. I just had to call their house and hope that they were home. But sometimes people will include that as a detail, even though it should be obvious. Like, people will sometimes be like, my grandfather was captured during the Vietnam War. He was held at a POW camp for 5 years. And this was before cell phones, so he had to just sit there and do nothing all day long. And I was like, yeah, I know when the Vietnam War was. I'm wondering if that's like an American thing, or like, do they do that in other countries as well? Like in China, are people like, I worked in a sweatshop as a kid, and this was before cell phones, so I was making sneakers. They'll do the same thing with flying and 9/11. They'll be like, I flew to Orlando when I was in high school, and this was pre 9/11, so I was able to bring all my box cutters on, and it was no big deal. People talk about flying pre 9/11 like it was Woodstock, like there were zero rules. They'll be like, I remember flying into D.C. on September 10th, 2001, and this was pre 9/11, so they let me fly the plane for a little bit, which is I buzzed the White House and stuck my gun out the window and fired a couple shots in the air for fun. It was fun back then. Flying was fun back then, not like now. Haven't let me fly a plane once since 9/11.
9/11,
right.
and this was before cell phones, so 9/11 was easier to.
That's it. Perfect.
So this is before cell phones, so you didn't have to shut your cell phone off when the flight took off.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That's true.
That's like Anthony's time travel joke. I'm just like, wait a minute. Before cell phones, but before 9/11. Wow.
Dude,
Yeah,
I
what
love
does that
that was
mean?
not the reaction I was going for with that tag.
to just break Jarret's
Yeah,
brain.
sorry, dude.
But like, that could be funny if you're like, this is before cell phones, but it was also before 9/11, so you didn't have to turn off the cell phone that you didn't have.
Jared, forget I said it.
And
No.
And
We're getting
there were
into this.
cell phones in 2001. I'm sorry, everybody.
They weren't as popular,
Okay.
but they were there.
They made calls from the goddamn plane.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
with box cutters.
The cell
Clerk,
phones
this
didn't
is why
have
we edit out so many things.
cell phones
We
didn't
give
have
10
airplane
minutes for the
mode at that
guests.
time.
I think it's funnier, like the more time markers you add to the story. Like Bush was president, the Ferrari 2000, whatever just came out. Like Teenage Ninja Turtles just came out with their 4th movie. Like the more time markers, the more ridiculous the time marker looks. So when people say, "Yeah, this is before cell phones," every time marker that you add that capsules that time makes it funnier and funnier.
Yeah, and I think with each one of those, you can do. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was still popular, so you were always looking in the sewers. I don't know, something. Like you could just keep using that format. I think that's the great suggestion.
I think if you do pre anything, or you could even announce it. Like, I know people like to use those as markers. I like to use random ones just to mess with people, and it's like, and this was pre-Transformers movie, so,
So we couldn't talk about the Transformers movies.
I thought you were gonna say this is pre-trans, and I was like, "Ooh,
oh man, Rob Ryan, nice to meet you.
We got him, guys.
You were talking about sweatshops,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a funny thing would be if somebody who worked in a sweatshop was talking about they had some story, but their job was to make the cell phones in the sweatshops, and they said this is before cell phones.
He does do that.
Yeah, that you
yeah,
may have missed
that-
that misdirect, but he did have that in there.
You had that in there?
But yeah, the joke, and I think this was actually Rob's suggestion from when I pitched this joke earlier, was the misdirect of this was before cell phones, so I was making sneakers instead of cell phones.
Yeah, I thought I liked that for a reason. That makes sense if I could.
I did actually have one. If I was going to be real picky, with it. I don't relate to people saying this is before cell phones when it was like obviously before cell phones. It doesn't affect the joke at all, but that doesn't track for me.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that part's where the exaggeration comes in.
Right.
Where, like, I feel like that does happen realistically if people are talking about, like, the Reagan administration, but I made it Vietnam to make it, like, more insane.
Right.
Maybe if you just make one friend in particular do that, I think that solves that whole problem.
Oh,
You know?
did you guys think that too? Was that a little too far?
I've heard
haven't
people do that before, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for you saying it's one particular person because then it doesn't have to be universal for every person in the audience.
Yeah, and then because you're doing it, it's a relatability thing. Like, you know, and so I'm supposed to go, oh yeah, I recognize that. So if it's just a guy, then it's easier for me to be like, oh, I recognize that type of behavior. But this guy is going to a crazy level. But if you're going to say, you know, people do this, I want to hear like an example exactly of first of that. And I think that just making it a guy skips over all of that. That's a good way to go about it.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't want the
Right.
audience even for 1 second thinking, "Have I experienced that? I don't think so. That's not real." Because then they lose you. But if it's just a crazy friend of yours, then totally fine.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, very funny tags, guys. Okay.
I'm glad that was the one that you worked on already before on the first meeting before this was recorded, because I was like, man, this is really well fleshed out.
I know.
I'm not even going to contribute this here.
I'm going to choose
Sitting there, I'm like,
to...
this is great stuff, man. I just when I'm gonna go.
Can we take a 15-minute break?
I need to work on my bits a little bit.
I have half a tweet here.
Jarrett's working. Thank goodness some of my ideas are actually already in there. I'm so nervous for a second. I was like, this is so fleshed out.
All right. I'll give the rest of my time back to the room. That's the only thing I wanted to do today.
Okay, that. Okay.
Rob, you are up. I also wanted to give Rob no time to come up with something better than what he brought already. He's going to look
Okay.
really bad in comparison.
I don't remember what I brought the first time, so I'm just working on new stuff.
But you actually could be working on the stuff you brought the first time. You don't even know.
As far as I know, this is new.
Yeah, Brett's head is right.
How about this? I forget if I've brought this to you guys. I know I've texted, I think, Brett and Anthony this, but I don't know. We'll start recording, actually, because I forgot to. And boom.
I just did it. You were referencing the fact that I look like a floating head, right, Jarret?
Yes.
Okay, because I just did an act out along those lines, and nobody acknowledged it. And
Oh,
so
I
then
didn't
I was
see
like,
it.
I hope that's what he's talking about, because I don't know what. I put my sleeves down like this so that you can see my arms, and then I went,
I did
and
not see
nobody.
that. I looked
even-
away, I think.
That's
Nobody
better.
even smiled.
It's better.
I
It's
think-
better. I love it. Keep it.
I'm leaving the
Visually
visual
came
gags
from
in the audio
bottom up.
podcast. also.
Leave the visual. Cut out Brett's explanation of why he did it.
When people say, "Hey, think fast," thinking rarely has anything to do with what they want. They're usually just throwing something at you, and you're supposed to catch it. That's all they ever want. But whenever someone says, "Hey, let me throw this at you," it's always an idea or a concept. It's never a football. That's all I really have.
That's
And
great, though.
I wanted to open up that to the floor.
Think fast. What do you think about the multiple worlds
Yes.
interpretation?
we did talk about that.
Think fast. Israel, Palestine.
No one's like, "Hey, think fast. You know, find the volume of this football." What? How am I supposed to do that? Catch. Okay.
Many worlds interpretation. I got it wrong.
Many worlds.
I needed to think faster.
I do like so I think you should definitely do act outs of the way it should be. You know, think fast, Israel, Palestine, and also let me throw this at you real quick, and then someone throws something at you, and then you catch it.
Yeah.
But I also think the football thing is really funny. So someone could be like, "Hey, let me throw this at you for a second." Then they throw you a football, and then they're like, "All right, now think fast. Think of the volume of that. Come up with the volume of that football."
Are they trying to trick you? Because if they say, "Let me throw this at you," and they throw the football, you don't have to think fast to catch it. But if they go, "Think fast," and they do that, you're like, "Well, I didn't know what was happening." In the beginning, but now everybody, when they say think fast, now everyone's expecting to catch something.
Oh, you like? What's the origins of that? Where did it come from? Is that what your question is?
I think, yeah, like the first time they said that, were they trying to trick the person?
I don't know. There obviously is some thinking involved with catching a football, so I want to avoid that before the audience thinks about it for too long. That would
half
be
of it's
my-
reflexes.
What happens if
Yeah.
you drop if you drop the thing that they throw? Are they like, oh, somebody's
What
dumb,
an idiot.
fucking moron?
Someone didn't go to high school, Matt. What? Guess they missed that day in science class.
Um,
Yeah.
I had another one. Think fast. Why do we drive on the parkway and park in the driveway? It's an old joke, but
Yeah, I like that one. I like Israel Palestine. That was great.
Yeah,
Because it's
that's
just
excellent.
two words, and boom, we're already there.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Do you think it'd be funny to if somebody tells you, "Let me throw something at you," and then they tell you something and you don't know how to respond? You do like an act out of like dropping something. Because someone would be like, "Hey, let me throw something at you." If I were to date your sister, would that be, a weird thing, or would that be cool? And you could be like, "Ugh."
that reminds me of when you did tell me this. That was actually a similar direction I went with for the tag, where it's like somebody's like, "Let me throw something at you," and you're like, and then they give you like a really complicated like moral conundrum, and you're just still holding your hands out like ready to catch something. Like,
Oh yes, the act out of that. Like,
yeah. So an act out where you are holding your hands up to catch something when somebody says, "Let's throw something at you." Then they say something like, "Hey, would you be mad if I slept with your wife?" And then you're just still holding your hands up, ready to catch something.
I like that.
I like that, and I like dropping it, doing the spaz. Or
Yeah. So I didn't mean to cut that off, Jared. I just was like, "Oh, I remember we talked about this."
Yeah, that's okay. The idea was so strong that it survived.
I think we're putting LeClerc at an unfair advantage because all of these jokes have been previously worked out. So in some regards,
It's true.
LeClerc, how come you don't have anything for these jokes we've already thought about?
I think Think Fast sounds like a great game show where you have three contestants. You tell them think fast, and you either ask them a question or throw something at them.
and they don't know which.
Genuinely good idea.
Like think fast.
That's great. That's
Your
like Double
prize
Dare
is you
with-
get to keep the football.
Yeah. And the black eye. Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? In lieu of that, why don't I do a joke that I know I haven't told any of you guys because I just thought of it yesterday. Because I was watching a Tulsi Gabbard interview thing from a while ago, and so I had it's a political joke. What do you think of that, Jarret and other people? There we go. So we right up your alley.
Jarret and everybody else.
People who know what politics are.
Is Jared like the authority on political jokes on this podcast?
No, I am
Yes,
not. No, I am
the
not.
wokest comedian alive.
I'm just very opinionated about it.
surprised you haven't heard of him.
He starts every joke with, "So I'm a liberal," and so well, Tulsi she was talking about how when she was apparently when you've been elected to Congress and they like literally have the first day. It's almost like the first day of school. Like everybody comes in, everyone's like, welcome, welcome. And it's like this whole class of new congressmen and women. But then very quickly within the first day, they go, okay, now Democrats here, Republicans there. And they literally like on the first day, they just separate them and they don't let them stay in the same room. And they're like, from here on in, you go over there and you go over there. Which is so bizarre to me. Reportedly, that's also when they tell the Democrats about their periods. And it's when they tell the Republicans about how they're going to have this weird urge to, like, kill things. That's when they have that conversation.
I love that.
That's the idea. What do you think of that, everybody? And Jarret?
I mean, it's
first.
it's super duper funny. My instinct is that I really want you to switch the things that the Republicans and the Democrats do, because you're kind of feeding into this idea of the Democrats being the sort of like the feminized party that's always worried about feelings, and the Republican Party are these male dominators who don't give a shit about anything, and they take power and
warmongering, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I mean, I don't really have a good joke reason for why I want you to switch that. I just want you to switch that because it just feels a little, I don't know, on the nose, and also like I don't want that. I don't like that. Those frames that we have around the political parties.
Yeah.
But
I wish they were more like that. The Democrats, I mean, there's way too many hawkish Democrats. We just ran 2 of them in 2 presidential elections alone. I mean, Hillary Clinton's not a warmongering crazy person, and Joe Biden was voting for every war that's existed over the last
I
4
feel
decades.
like you are trying to make me mad, Rob.
He didn't say he wasn't going to vote for
Are we
him.
going to pretend like Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton are not pro-war? I mean, we could pretend like that's not true, but that's.
Oh my God! Okay, I gotta throw my computer in the garbage.
What are we? I'm voting for him. Just saying that
Are you?
it's a fact.
Do you like Joe Biden?
Yeah,
I do like Joe Biden. like Joe Biden.
He's not the most progressive candidate.
I wanted Warren.
My politics are progressive and liberal.
I'm not gonna play that game of saying my first choice was blah blah blah. It's like, but Joe Biden's current platform will be the most progressive platform that of any president in history since FDR. God, yeah, this isn't even funny. I'm just mad now. I need to calm down. This is like I am in a place of liberal rage these days.
This is why the joke was directed at Jarret and other people.
What are you on your period, Jared?
Thank you. Classic Democrat.
I think, Jared, part of the reason that you are this angry when anybody speaks kind of like, well, let's point out that the Democrats aren't great right now is because the coming election is so important. But this is going to come out far after the election, so you don't have to worry about like this influencing it anyway. This is just exploring the ideas. I think you can, if you're able to, and I understand why you're not. This is very important.
It might be best if I just meditate for the rest of this joke.
Yeah. With that said, I do think that because you're doing this analogy, you don't have room to reverse the stereotypes of the parties, and I think the joke works well because you're playing on them.
Yeah. And as a more classic defense of the joke, I don't want to. I also don't want to make this sound like the period is a bad thing. It just is a thing. I am feminizing the party for sure, but I'm not. That's not a negative thing. And then for the Republicans, I actually do say something that I genuinely don't like, which is the idea of wanting to be, warmongering or whatever. So that would be my defense of it. If in case anyone came at me with that argument, the sort of more liberal argument, like you can't just, what are you trying to do? So anyway, but your point, I didn't think you'd come at me with to actually flipping the identities of the two. Yeah, and then I really didn't expect, after you admitting that the Democrats are fully capable of being warmongers, then me agreeing with you and then you disagreeing with me. That confused me.
No, the thing that
Democrat.
The thing that I get upset about is like, there are like different factions in the Democratic Party, like things that are more centrist, things that are more progressive, but this is also a product of the sort of like media narrative around Democrats that they literally fought against by becoming more Republican. Like this all happened in the 90s when Bill Clinton got elected, and they were trying to establish a stronger base by being like, well, the Democrats are going to vote for us, but if we act more Republican, then maybe we'll also get like more centrists and Republicans who like us a little bit better. And so all of these ideas about like Joe Biden being like really hard on being tough on crime, and Hillary Clinton being a warmonger, like how many of those frames, I haven't looked too much into it, but how much of those frames are media narratives and also things that we literally put on just to make ourselves more electable to a wider swath of this country? Isn't this hilarious?
Can you work that into the joke?
We'll have to have a separate political pod for that. LeClerc, did you think of anything funny for my joke?
I'm just going to unplug my mic for the rest of this. I literally can't. I literally can't right now.
I could do a different joke. I got so much.
No. This is not your fault. This is me being an emotional wreck because we are 60 days away and it's an emergency.
Is this a callback to, you have the other joke that you've talked about before about in high school where they split you up and the girls talk about one thing and the boys talk about, whatever it is.
Yeah,
boners and
it's
condoms or
not
whatever.
necessarily a callback. It could be. It's just another swing at the same idea. Right.
I think actually,
LeClerc's
sorry,
gonna say
go ahead.
something.
Oh, I was going to say that I think the more abstract the party's behaviors are, the funnier the joke will be. So, like, I know that when you talk about them being power hungry, that could be like a trigger if you're actually a conservative, and if you talk about them being soft or feminine, that can also be a trigger, like Jarret showed for liberals. So,
Where did you get that idea, LeClerc? That's awfully fanciful. Wow.
I just want to say that I'm very concerned because Jarret is sitting up.
He had to get up.
If I was on my bed, this never would have happened. I just would have been so relaxed and cool. I'm usually in my bed, LeClerc. That's why.
but this is like a good litmus test for like how real audience will respond to the way you the way you frame those parties. So my approach with comedy is that anytime you talk about the serious the subject, the sillier you have to be.
I totally agree.
So with this, like, I know your instincts want you to be as accurate as possible, but I think it might serve you better to be more ridiculous. And it could help to throw in a third party because, jokes always work in three. So if you throw in something ridiculous for independence or the Green Party, that might really be the punch to make that joke more digestible.
Oh.
So, first of all, I love that idea. Independent party, Green Party, that's really great. And I think I have to keep the period thing because that is the joke. The joke is when in 6th grade or 7th grade when you got separated and they told their girls about their periods and they told the boys about whatever hormones they're going to go through. So if, let's say, I were to keep this joke or try it out on stage, do you agree that I have to at least start with the period but then come up with some other ridiculous thing to represent Republicans?
And I think you've kind of grown attached to how the period ties in the two ideas, but I think the ideas are bigger than that thread at this point. So yeah, I do think that if you want to stay true to your original idea, you would have to work around that. But it might be more liberating to like free yourself of that position and see if the joke can work independent of that thread, which is the period idea. Because you have great analogies that can come about if you kind of separate yourself from that initial idea.
That's gonna be hard.
So, is there anything else where you separate to men and women and then something happens? Like, I don't know, freshman orientation or something like that.
Well, I had an idea where. Oh, sorry, but I wasn't sure if you were done or not, or if you were
I wasn't, but I guess I am now.
You were still going, but I thought maybe you were done.
No, I thought
Once
you
I
were doing.
started talking, I felt like you were done
Difficult Democrat.
because you stopped talking and I was talking, so I figured.
I thought you were doing that thing where you were like fishing for ideas instead of like leading somewhere. Sometimes you'd be like, oh, maybe it's a this, maybe it's a that.
I got what you're doing.
Welcome to Joe Biden's America, Brett.
Floating heads can't talk in Joe Biden's America.
Maybe there's an Orthodox religious thing. I know Orthodox Jews separate men and women, so maybe there's an analogy there. But if you're going to let go of the period thing, then
I don't think I will. There's no joke for me because the only joke, the only thing that made me laugh was the idea that they'd separate Republicans and Democrats the way that they did that one time with us in 6th grade. So if I can't make that, then I don't really need to.
But is there another thing besides periods that they would?
They talked
I mean,
about?
we don't know because we're all guys.
Well,
I don't know what they talked
everything else
about.
Would have been like hair in places that there wasn't hair before, or some conversation about hormones. So like,
Well, how about this? And I am remember, I am biased, so this is the frame that I would like in the joke. They separate, and then they separate the Democrats, and they let them know that their bodies are going to be changing, and they're going to be getting hair in certain places. The Republicans, they oil their gears or whatever. I don't know, as in their machines, their monsters, blah blah blah, something like that.
Something about guns.
Yeah, Trump sucks. Something. I got to say something about Trump.
Yeah, they introduce them to the gun they're going to be marrying.
I like that.
I like the idea that the real punchline is going to be the Green Party or something like that.
Yeah, that's an excellent thought too. If I can throw some shade at another political party as well, just to just to sort of reassure to the audience that this is a joke and the words are really meant to be like, I'm just gonna take a shot all across the board.
Yeah.
I got no skin in the game, at least for this joke in particular.
And they would give a ficus to the Green Party if any of them ever got elected.
You're right. Right.
I think a good angle would be once you have the party separated. Of course, when they talk about like anatomy or what have you, when your bodies are changing, I think it'd be funny if they told the girls, your body, your choice, and then they told the conservatives or the boys, her body, our choice. I think that like just a way of like pretend like to play, because that's a real thing that happens, right?
Right.
We talk about issues with their body. Liberals are always like, it's our body, it's our choice or whatever. But a lot of conservatives like, it's your body, but I got a few things to say about it.
I like that. That's funny.
If at some point you can get either party to say "ew, gross," I think that fits in there pretty well.
Yeah.
Could that be the Green Party? I'm trying to think what because the Green Party could be completely unrelated and ridiculous if you've already established Democrat and Republican.
Maybe you could do the
absurd.
whatever plant puberty is, like your stamens are going to be changing. You might notice bees hanging around, trying to pollinate you.
Something about chloroplasm.
I would just put them into special education class because there's only a couple of them, and they're not really going to make any decisions anyway that anyone's going to listen to. So.
Yeah, the parents didn't let the independents come to school for that chart. Like, we teach that at home, okay? We don't want our students
right.
to
Maybe
be around your agenda.
Green Party could be homeschooled. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's funny.
That actually harkens back to my old joke. The other joke that I had, LeClerc, was about how men just never learned about women's periods. Like, there was one day in school where they told the girls about it. I don't know why they didn't tell the boys, but we just never decided to look it up. Like, we just never chose to like figure it out ourselves. Like, that joke when people are like, "Oh, I must have missed that day in high school." We literally missed that day in high school. Get taught, and we're like, for decades later, we're like, I don't know, your vagina bleeds or something. How am I supposed to know?
It's like when you're supposed to do a book report, but you watch the movie instead. Yeah. Boys, watch the movie instead. Porno.
All right. So I think generally all like this joke better than the other one I have. So
well, I do think if you do this joke and then so you do the other joke that you did on the other episode, and then what Anthony was saying, that this is just a callback. If this is just a quick joke, you get into it. Yep. I think as soon as you get into it, so they tell they split up, then they explain the period to them, and then I think that's all you need, and that right. You don't even have to expand on it. It's just be like, yeah, it's a nice callback.
Yeah, I don't think people would even see it as a political statement, which it's not supposed to be. They just see it as the funny callback, hopefully, that it is. Great. I think that might be the one of the solutions to this. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much. I definitely went over my time, but the lively discussion was great.
So should I get into a bit?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
Let's do it. All right. So this is a bit that I've been working on, and let's see if it has legs. Nice. So I got married last summer for the first time. Yeah.
What? We are doing married. The audience, the very realistic audience.
It's important.
I got married. Yeah, I got married for the first time, and my first wife is great.
That's great.
She's top notch. People get upset when I call her my first wife, but I don't mean it as an insult. I just really say it.
Is that your wife smacking your phone away?
Yeah. All right. So yeah, my wife is great. Yeah. Oh, I call my first wife. People ask me why I call it, but I just call my first wife to keep her motivated. She needs to know it's a competitive market out there, and she's a teacher. My wife is a teacher, and she's been trying to help my comedy. That's how bad comedy is going right now, that she's trying to help it. She wrote a joke for me to tell on stage. Do you guys want to hear it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. This is a joke my wife wrote for me to tell on stage. I just got married for the first time. I love being in a loving, faithful relationship. It's much better than when I was single, dating whores. And the rest of it's like kind of garbage, but I'll figure it out. But that's the general gist of like my new married material. If you guys want to tell me if it has legs,
great.
yeah.
I thought that her joke was going to be the same thing where you call her the first wife.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I realized it sounded like that when I was doing it the second time.
Which you could use to your advantage. That could be a callback. If you do something wrong in the marriage, like if the presumption is that she's writing the joke for you, then she could use you as a mouthpiece to say, and if I ever do something like this, or if I ever do that, or cheat, or whatever.
Or
first wife, or something along.
Rob, we're losing you.
Oh, we're losing Rob. It could also be a thing where she says something like that about you instead of talking about the people you've dated before. I guess it wouldn't be, this is my, I'm the first husband or whatever, but maybe it could be like you just start going into this kind of self-deprecating thing because she wrote it.
Yeah.
I think there's so much room to play with. I will say, I don't think you need to put the fact that she's a teacher in there. I don't think that does anything for the joke. But there's so much room with her. I think also, even if you were to start and say the exact same thing that you said about she's my first wife, every little thing that you do wrong there, whether it's even just like messing up the comedy of like that, I call her my first wife because she is, or that's just true. She's the only person I've married. Like, any kind of, it's like to mirror it and then do it wrong is like a good setup for comedy, because now we're just doing a pattern and variation. But I also really like the way that you were going with it, where it's like her angle is coming through, like where her standpoint is, which is like she wants to establish that she's the best and something like that. And if you do have an antithesis to keeping her motivated, like what's her standpoint on that, I would love to hear that come out in her version of the joke.
Oh, the motivation thing. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the reason I mentioned her being a teacher is because I've been trying to work on a separate bit about how her being a teacher bleeds into our marriage. So I find her oftentimes using language with me that she uses in her classroom. So she'll start talking to me, and if I don't give her my undivided attention, she'll say, "I'll wait." I'm like, "Well, I'm not a child. You can't, you can't just fold your arms and say, 'I'll wait.'"
Okay. Turn the lights on and off.
Yeah.
I don't care how many golden erasers I can get.
Yeah, and sometimes I'll ask her a question. I'm like, "Hey, can I do this?" And she'll say, "May I?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not asking to use the bathroom, you asshole. I'm like having a conversation with my wife." So that's the reason I bring up her being a teacher, because I'm trying to tie it in with that other bit.
Can you make the joke that she writes have that language?
Yeah, I can, but I would just have to move that part to the beginning so that it follows that, so it all makes sense. But yeah, I could do that as well. I could move that to the beginning.
It might be funny to do a callback. If you don't just repeat the first wife joke, it might be funny to do a callback to it that's like an anti-joke, where after you do the horse thing, you say something like, "But I do refer to my wife as my first wife, and she's fine with it because I am finally in a relationship that I don't want to leave because it's great."
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
When she writes the joke, she could say something like, because you're like, "I just got married. I don't deserve her," or something. Make it like something like she would write.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to tie it. I really like that idea, Anthony. What I found is that I've wrote a few other tags for the part that she's supposed to write, but the part that always hits hardest is when I say that it's much better. I love being in a loving, faithful relationship. It's much better than when I was dating whores.
Yeah.
Once I say that, no other tag that I've written follows it. Nothing really holds weight.
Okay.
Can we hear what you got?
Yeah, I would have to pull it up. Give me a sec.
Can I suggest a potential heightening? That way you don't have to compete by coming up with another example.
Yeah.
So she comes up with the joke for you. You know, here's the joke. Haha, everyone's laughing because of the horror thing. You're like, you know, she's actually come up with a bunch of others. She actually wrote me an entire set list, but I think they're just chores. I don't know. One says clean the bathroom. I'm not sure what that joke's supposed to be.
That might be an
about.
act out.
That might be.
My wife loves it when I put the toilet seat down, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
This is your set list, and the set list is just like, I don't know if these jokes are funny or not.
Yeah, I also I've been trying to play around with the idea of how easy it was to get married. I feel like it's far too easy to get a marriage license, especially in America. I think it's too easy to get a marriage license. They make you get permits for every other license, right? It's easier to get a marriage license than a driver's license. All you have to do is show up with another person and you can get married. But I do think marriages should require marriage permits, and you should also take a test. And the test it's not going to be hard stuff like, what is the password to your fiance's phone? And if you can't pass these simple questions, maybe you shouldn't get married.
What if?
Yeah.
Sorry. What if the marriage test is actually just seeing how you interact while one of you is parallel parking? It's actually just the driving test, but you're both there.
Yeah.
Also, teachers have to teachers have to be licensed and stuff too. So you could do the driving example, but you could also maybe, I don't know, I don't have any examples that would be funny, but potentially you could compare it to that as well, since you mentioned that she's a teacher.
Right. Teachers need licenses.
You have to not say anything while she parallel parks. I feel like that's more of a good marriage litmus test. Just going back to my idea.
What you could do with Brett's idea, instead of just the parallel parkings, but the idea of because you have to get a permit. So similarly, you'd have to go to an office like the DMV or something, wait in line, fill out papers and stuff. So if you had to do that experience together and you don't kill each other while going through that DMV experience together like that, then there you go. That's the test. Something to that effect.
Yeah, that's really good.
Look, I thought of another joke that your wife could have written.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed how when men get married, they suddenly think they're hot shit? As though they weren't sleeping on a futon on the ground and didn't own bathroom cleaner before they met you? You ever notice how men don't think about how sad they'd be if they had to go back to that life?
That's really funny. That's really funny. By the way, you ever think about it's such a funny setup. Even without the second part, it's such a condescending way of setting something up. Yeah, that's it for me, guys. That was really funny. Good. Thanks for those tags.
Well, hopefully that opens some stuff up for you.
Yeah, that's a great. I like that. I love the idea that she starts writing the jokes.
So we want to wait for Rob to change positions.
Rob seems good now.
Yeah, you look better
for now. All right. Sorry about that. Those ideas were really fun. I hope I was able to come in with a few ideas here and there, even though I was spotty. But LeClerc, really funny stuff. I love that concept. It's really great, especially the wife writing jokes for you is just great.
All right. Did you say you were spotting? Oh, was that a callback to you?
Okay, I have some half thoughts here. I was I was watching a dandelion, just like a fresh yellow one, and then I saw one that was aged. It had the little white fuzzy things, and the wind blew on it, and they all just blew away. And I was like, it's so interesting, just what you can see, the way things age, and that we age that way. And I feel like a dandelion ages so much more gracefully than we do. But I am really glad that as we get older, you can't just blow our hair away.
It happens on its own.
And it's
Yeah.
also not a thing that little kids will pick up old people and make wishes and blow their hair away.
Grandpa.
Yeah, it's a pretty absurd joke, but I think you just gotta like this direction. Go more absurd with it.
The life cycle of the dandelion is that it starts with the yellow and then it turns into the other thing,
Uh-huh.
the white thing. Yeah.
I didn't know those were the
Um,
same.
Yeah, when they get when they age, the yellow turns into the gray things, and those are the seeds for the new ones. They blow away, and then they propagate.
That's also funny if you think about that being the replacement for how we procreate. I'm glad that when we turn old, our hair doesn't just blow off our head, and then it's like, oh, God damn it. My kids are somewhere over there now.
Impregnated.
I just came everywhere. Hope it lands in a woman.
That'd be a terrible way of dealing with our elderly. Keep talking, Grandma. I will blow you the fuck away. You got one more comeback. Say it again. See if I won't blow you away. I turn this fan on so quick, girl.
I like that you turn on a fan and your grandmother's gone.
Fan in a nursing home, and they're all like, no!
Here's a dumb one. One time, a police officer told me I had moxie, and I was like, "Hey, man, I don't touch that stuff."
Like the cola?
No,
No, like
moxie.
the
Moxie means
1920s.
you got spunk,
Yeah.
But you
but
said
it sounds kind of like a drug.
oh,
That's the joke.
because Moxie Cola was the original before Coca-Cola. It was Moxie Cola. So I thought you were making a joke about how gross it was.
No.
Was there a cop that would ever in 2020 say you have moxie?
Yeah, there's a reality dip there where I kind of don't believe that part happened.
Well, it did.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it, Brett.
What if the conversation went, your coach told you when you were in, I guess, the 6th grade or whatever, your coach told you have moxie, and you asked him, do you mean I have spunk? And he goes, I don't know, you tell me. That might
Not
be a bit
for
too
another
dirty.
few months.
I mean, your body is going through changes right now.
Yeah, I
think
get.
spunk is
There's
a
a lot.
funnier word. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel
spunk
if you
is
make
funnier.
that relation, you got spunk, my girl told me I got spunk, but
That is funny and takes my kind of nothing idea and turns it into something.
Wait, but
I
you
guess
said that's
really
a real story?
No, I mean I was trying to just be right
I was
against
oh,
Rob
because-
and Jarret.
Oh, because last time you had something ridiculous like that, and it was real, and I wanted.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a nothing joke. I guess I just think moxie. It kind of sounds like a drug. That was really the joke there.
Yeah, I like
Okay.
that. But you need to be confronted by a cop from the 1920s.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got
problem.
Moxie. You got to do it. Can you do it in the voice, in the old timey voice?
yeah,
I don't think
Jay.
that's going to help the joke make sense or be funny, but I can. Hey, kid, you got moxie.
Oh, I like it.
Right.
Please. That's
You did
great.
it with
That's very
Moxie
funny.
too, which I like.
Now, if he said I have moxie cotton, I got a ton of those.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it'd be really funny if you looked up a bunch of words from that time and used that in your response to him. So he's saying you have moxie, and then you just use a bunch of that type of lingo. Yeah, I got moxie. Yeah, and then you just kind of go into this whole
yeah, I like that.
response using his language.
What are you, some kind of wise guy? I wouldn't pay a sack full of pennies for that chin wagon.
And then you break into fisticuffs.
And then you flip a coin at him and tell him to keep the change or something. Have your top hat.
Yeah, actually, if he's an undercover cop, then maybe I might be able to play with. I'm trying to buy drugs, and then he says Moxie. I'm not sure if he's asking me a question or not. I don't know. Yeah, there's
Shave
something.
and a haircut, 2 bits.
Maybe a drug dealer says he had Oxy, but you thought he said Moxie, and maybe that could be the way that you frame it.
Oh, that's funny.
And
I went to my drug dealer. He said he has Oxy, but I thought he said Moxie. I was like, you sure do, kid.
Keep your chin up.
And that sounds more realistic.
Yeah. People get really upset when you don't like the same food as them. I'm not really sure why that is. Like, I never say like, oh, I don't like eating that food, and then also from now on we share a mouth. I just say I don't like that food, but they get offended. Like, here's something I've never heard in response to me saying that I don't like fish. Oh, okay. It's always like, oh, you got to try good fish. You have to try non-fishy fish. All fish is fishy. There's no non-fishy fish. I don't understand what it is. It's like, why can't I just like a different food than you? This is more. I don't have a lot of punchlines here. I just am so confused by this behavior because there's a lot of foods that I don't like that a lot of people like, and they won't just be like, oh, okay, you just like a different thing. Yeah. Like, I don't like peanut butter, and people are like, what? Ah.
I did think all fish are fishy was funny. Like, it's very funny.
Yeah, I like that.
All fish is fish. All fish is fishy. It sounds funny. I like that.
Yeah. I like that it sounds like you don't trust fish. Like, all fish are fishy. I don't know how I feel.
Yeah, all fish are fishy. I don't mean like they're suspect. I mean, they are inherently of a fishy flavor and odor. Not suspicious of fish.
They're by definition, they're fishy. They're fish.
Yeah.
Maybe this was the origin of people's peanut allergies. Maybe there aren't any. It's just finally a way for people to just stop being offered the peanut butter.
Oh yeah, that is very interesting. It's like I have often thought like maybe I should just tell people I have a peanut allergy so they get off my case.
Yeah.
Do you not like peanut butter either?
Yeah, I don't like
peanut butter fish.
What if you put all the food together that you don't like, you love it?
Any structure around that joke, Anthony, or just
No.
peanut butter fish?
Peanut butter fish.
All right, I'll work with that.
Maybe all allergies were born from people just not liking things until they to the point they have to say it won't kill me.
Shellfish
I will
allergy.
die.
That's
Okay,
what
I will
instead of-
literally die. Can we just leave me alone?
That might be an angle to go with if I do go that route of talking about that, because that is a thing where I'm like, maybe I should just tell people I have a peanut allergy.
Yeah.
But then I'll start doing that for like other things. I'll be like,
But what-
oh yeah, I have a talking on the phone allergy.
All right, Anthony.
Okay. My friend told me that he's getting divorced and he has to move into a new place. And I said, I'm so sorry to hear that. Let me know if you need anything. And my friend said, do you have any furniture?
I like that. You know what might be interesting is if he tried to rephrase what he was saying. So, if there's anything you need, you say, if there's anything you need, he says furniture. I meant if there's anything I can do, help move me into my new.
Help me pick out some new furniture.
Buy me some furniture.
I mean, if I can be there for you in some way, can you be there for me when I pick up the furniture?
Can you be there at the furniture store with your credit card?
Right.
Emotionally, is there anything that I can help you with?
Yeah, I'm really sad that I don't have any furniture.
Can I have yours, please?
It make me feel a lot better.
If I gave you my furniture, my wife would divorce me. And then he's like, well, then we could be roommates.
Is there anything that I can do for you that isn't furniture related?
I need a television.
Would I be able to crash on your couch and then keep your couch?
I do like the is there anything not furniture related? It's like you got a TV. That's pretty good.
What if he sleeps on your couch, but then you catch him licking it the way that you would lick like a piece of pizza that you want to eat? Like he's
It's
trying to
mine
claim
now.
it that way.
Yeah, he's coughing on it.
Dibs.
You can ask him if he has a particular set of skills, winking that, like, can you kill my wife?
Oh, yeah,
Kill
yeah.
the wife.
Yeah. Do you have a particular set of skills to get rid of this problem? I'm like, oh boy.
It'd be funny if you go with this furniture thread, then it's like, hey, do you have anything that's not furniture related? And then he's like, hey, do you know any contract killers?
Yeah.
No. And he's like, okay, so how about a couch?
Yeah. Oh, that's where the killer part comes. It comes after the furniture stuff. I have this. This is something actually that I wrote years ago that I just saw today, and
This is before cell phones, right?
so this is before cell phones. Yeah. So I don't think
What a callback.
Oh god. That was a callback to pre 9/11. That's how long that was.
I mean, obviously, this could use some work, but I think there is a nugget in here. I saw a commercial for 1-800-Flowers, and I think that's a great service. You tell them where to send the flowers, and they do all the work, which is perfect for me because I'm, I care about a lot of people, but I am also lazy. So I called up to find some more information, but it was a little too expensive for me, and I wish that they would have a service like that for people that are broke. Maybe call it 1-800-GOOD-VIBES. You tell them whose birthday it is, and they send positive thoughts. And then for an additional fee, they will call up a person and say, hey, Anthony's thinking about you. That's what I have written.
I think that's funny. You could cut out a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of cruft on there.
Rough.
1-800-Flowers is a great service. It lets let people know you're thinking about them, and you don't have to do anything, which is great because I'm lazy. But I'm also broke, so I can't afford 1-800-Flowers. So I'm thinking about maybe 1-800-GOOD-VIBES, where I just send positive thoughts.
Or 1-800-High-Fives. Just like
1-800-High-Fives.
That's great.
yeah, guys,
1-8
comes up and gives the high fives and leaves. What if you had enough for the flowers, but not enough for the delivery service? So you just call them like, hey man, I love you to death, right? I need you to go to 34th Street and pick up this gift that I couldn't afford to bring to you.
So you say, can you meet me at the corner of 32nd and 8th Avenue? And then they show up and they're like, where are you at? I just like, go into the flower store. There's some flowers there for you. Happy birthday.
That's funny. I thought you were going to say,
I like
I couldn't afford the delivery service, so they just send a picture of the flowers to the person and just like text it. But I like that now they have an errand that they have to run. They have to go pick it up, and maybe I'm not even there. They're not meeting me. They're like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "I'm home." But if you go in, you can pick up those flowers that I sent you.
I think you can even make it like into a game. Like, hey, I had this. What are those chases called? Where you have to find
Scavenger hunt.
something.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
you can make it a
scavenger
scavenger hunt. So you can like trick them into a scavenger hunt, but really you just couldn't afford the delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
yeah.
Try to make
How
it
about
fun.
how about you buy the flowers, you realize how expensive they are, and you're like, I can't make this mistake next year. Any chance you could just send me some seeds too? So I'm covered.
Just the card for now and seeds for next time.
Yeah, just the card now. Send me some seeds, and I'll have it figured out by next year.
As far as the picture of the flowers, it's like an IOU.
Oh yeah. Is that on the? Did you say on the packaging for the seeds? It's an IOU.
Oh, yeah, that's funny. If you if you actually just give the seeds to your friend and you're like, this is an IOU.
Yeah, I like that. It's like when you get somebody a savings bond, but you only paid for half of it, It's like, here's a savings bond for $200, and here's some rose seeds. yeah.
For 1/8 of the price, I just gave you 10 times as many roses.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's funny too.
It's the thoughtlessness that counts.
Oh, that's
a
good.
great slogan, by the way.
Yeah. That is great. That has to be whatever the new
1-800-Flowers. It's the thoughtlessness that
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
We do it all for you.
I have this quick one. I don't know if I have time or not. I wasn't keeping track.
Whatever.
I was going to go to the aquarium, but then I just decided to buy a fish tank. No.
I feel like that's one of those jokes where a person hears it and they go, but you can see like a shark at the aquarium.
Yeah, but if you put your face
And
really
like
close to the
like
tank.
Brett, do you like going to the aquarium? Or you don't like fish? I'm just curious. Do you not like
only
them
if they make me
alive?
taste the fish.
You can get so close to the fish, you can almost taste them. No thanks.
But have you gone to my-
It's not for me.
But have you gone to my aquarium? How did
You know what? I don't like
going.
going to aquariums because all the fish they're too suspicious to me. They're too fishy.
There's something not quite right about this aquarium.
So anyway, there might not be anything there, but that was just a thing that I thought of. It was kind of silly, and I thought I would throw it out. Think fast.
Yeah.
When I said the thing about but they have sharks there, and you said, yeah, but if you sit really close to it,
Yeah.
then maybe that's the joke. It's like, I wanted to go to the aquarium, but I said I just bought a fish tank and sat really close. To it.
Yeah. I think that makes it feel more like a joke because that felt like, it felt like there was an idea, but not quite enough.
Yeah.
You can also say, then I bought a fish tank. Now I own an aquarium.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or
yeah,
could
there
it
you
be
go.
all of them? Could it be I was going to go to the aquarium, but I bought a fish tank instead and sat really close. Now I own an aquarium.
Yeah, now I own an
Right.
aquarium. Yeah.
That could
It's the
be.
gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
A fish tank to fish is just a tank.
That's true.
Think about it. It's
Think
just a think tank.
You should also end the joke by selling tickets to your aquarium.
Anthony's Aquarium, $5 admission.
Is there something to this? And if that's too expensive for you, there's always the ocean.
Yeah.
Ocean is free.
Yeah. But it's more
Fun-
dangerous. So at
Fun
what
fact:
cost?
every time they've tried to keep a great white in captivity, it's died.
What's fun about that?
I just
Sure.
hate great white sharks.
Oh, right, because you hate fish.
Yeah, I hate them.
Fish Tank, by the way, is a much less popular television show. It's where
It's-
a bunch of investors just kind of nibble at toes a little bit.
$9.99 is what I'll give you for that fish tank. Oh, perfect. That's what it costs.
Great. Boo boo. Welcome to
Fish tank is a bunch of people that have $10, and then people walk into the room and pitch giving it to them.
Hey, you want to buy this fish tank? It's pretty good. I think I should probably clean it out, but otherwise it's great. Yeah, it's $5. Yeah, it sounds great.
I'll give you $5 plus marketing.
Brett would be the worst shark. He's like, yeah, I don't like fish, and for that reason,
I'm out.
I'm out.
There's something suspicious about this business plan.
This is a bit too fishy for me, so for that reason, no.
I'm out.
Oh
That's
my God.
great.
That's so funny.
Thanks, guys, for listening. LeClerc Andre, you can find him on social media at what's
At
your handle?
thefishtank.com. At LeClerc Andre, it's the same thing.
Okay, yeah. So you could just Google him and find follow all of his social media. He's great, very talented comic. Follow his social media and find out about that. Anything else you want to plug, dude?
Nah, that's it, man. This has been so much fun, guys. Thanks again for having me. This has been fun.
Thanks for
Absolutely.
coming,
Thanks
LeClerc.
coming on.
Yeah.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for watching. We just want to remind you that we have a live Zoom show coming up on February 23rd at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can get tickets at nowheretime.com. It's our second live show. Our first one was awesome. You definitely want to come check it out. We're pitching jokes live. You can laugh along with us. One member of our Patreon will get to pitch a joke as well. People contribute in the comments. It's super fun, so come check it out. February 23rd, 9 p.m. Eastern. These guys have helped zero in this pitch.
Oh, was I supposed to do something?
No,
We've been
that's
doing.
okay. No, we got it.
You can't see us doing our funny reactions to what you're saying.
It's good enough.